and good evening, and welcome back to part 7. Feels like a bit of a mission, doesn't it? Part 7 of the September reset. We've covered so much already, and it's really nice hearing everyone checking in on the replays and what have you. I do find that these are always more popular in the replays, whether it's this one or the November one or any of the other bits, apart from co-working. People don't tend to watch replays at co-working, partly because I don't record them because it's co-working. There are timer videos though in the membership, so if you want to co-work on your own but want a timer, there's timer videos in there too. Today we are talking about seasonal switch up. So this is part 7. Basically you can do any of these out of order, and I also think this one is like an over the rest of September type thinking through and starting to process, and is also impacted by weather, which of course we have zero control over. So it will also, depends which part of the world you're in as well for how you view this, because people in Australia will be looking to get their warmer clothes out, whereas cooler clothes out, and the people in the UK are getting their warmer clothes out, although we keep having these spurts of heat waves. So there you go, just never know. But there's lots of different elements to thinking about a seasonal switch up. Obviously the obvious one is clothing. What are going to be our transitions with our clothing? Do you keep all your clothes out all the time? Do you have sections? Maybe you have your big winter coats that you want to think about getting out. Why you won't need them yet, why we do this as part of the September reset, is we can think ahead. Then we've got time to get repairs. We've got time to purchase new ones if we need to, or hunt down, say, if you're like me, hunting down a secondhand bargain. It's not, you can't just instantly get the thing. It's always good to think a little bit ahead. But it's also that chance to think about over the summer, which of these things did I actually wear and not wear? Well, it's still fresh in your mind, and you can pick something up and be like, oh, I tried this on about 8 times and was always like, oh no, not for this one, not for this one. And then you have to start to think, maybe this is just not right for me. It's about, actually, I didn't wear this. I had loads of perfect opportunities for this, and it's kind of like, right, I still never wore it, so I'm going to get rid of it. But the seasons don't just affect our clothes. Although straight away the next one that sprung to mind was swimwear. I'm much more likely to swim in the indoor pool and want a one piece than I would a bikini, although I can't tell you the last time I actually put a bikini on. Short of the day I couldn't find my swimming costume, just because it's 2 things to put on. It's a whole lot of effort. But what goes with swimming for us, as an example, is all the swimming paraphernalia, which is different when we swim outside to when we swim inside. The outdoor pool that we go to, you can take like floaty rings and stuff like that. There's quite a lot of space. The indoor pool is smaller. You can't take those things to it. So looking at it and thinking, am I likely to use this again next year? Ours, for example, did have a hole in it. So we were clinging on and like gaffer taping it each time we went, because it was like end of the season, there's not really much point in getting a new one yet. So I know that I can put on my sort of little note that sometime over the winter, when everyone else is clearing their floaties out, I know mine is broken and has gone in the bin, so that I can prepare to get my new one. There's no point in putting away things that are damaged that are not going to be repairable. You might as well get rid of them now. But also, if they are repairable, now's the time to like start actioning that, because we know it's not always instant. Now we have to do, depending on what the item is, we have to research how to repair it, and then find the product that will repair it, or find the person that will repair it. Like clothes, if we do them ourselves, I always wait until there's a bit of a stockpile. And like we were talking in the household routines, I'm more once a month save up all my sewing stuff, because I just find it such a faff getting the sewing machine out and getting the sewing box out and finding my glasses and all that kind of thing. So if you're a bit like that with projects, knowing now what ones you need to get done for next summer, although next summer feels a million years away, and we will freeze our little butts off before then, it's nice to get ahead and have a bit of an idea. And like I said, keep an eye out. If you've got things to replace, now you can start keeping an eye out, or thinking about, is there anything actually you'd rather have for Christmas? It's very common, we get to Christmas and we go, I have no idea what I want. because we're in the depths of winter, and what we want is to hide and like eat chocolate under our duvet. So if you've got an idea what you need, maybe you could be requesting that parasol, that beautiful rainbow parasol from Father Christmas instead, because you've been organised and done your seasonal switch up. It's also a good time to think about the home you live in. So things like your guttering and getting ahead of anything that might leak. I've been up on a flat roof and taken a load of moss down because I needed to clean the deck, and the decking gets very, very slippy when it's wet. So I knew I needed to sort that out before it gets wet more often. I know that the front garden can flood. So we've made the whole front garden was gravel. I've made it into a path. I've used all the gravel to make a raised path and then put grass in and more plants because I know that'll absorb it up. Now that was, for me, obviously was a bigger project. So I didn't wait till September to start that because I was going to do it myself. But if you're in a nice position where you can get someone else to do it, or you can call a landlord or things, then you've got September, beginning of October and things to get a hold on those. Anything to do with boilers, if you need your gas fire service, if you need chimneys swept, get ahead of that, because otherwise you wait until you need to use the thing and everyone is doing it and the wait lists are terrible. And at the moment you're more likely to get a bit of a deal because most people aren't thinking about getting their chimney swept. We've got a boiler going in tomorrow, or meant to. I'm always a bit nervous, like until they literally turn up. We've got a boiler going in tomorrow, and we got an eco grant to support it because the boiler here is decrepit and luckily been serviced, but still very not energy efficient, and we've got insulation and things going in. But as soon as it starts getting cold, loads of people, are going to be applying for the grants, and the grants aren't limitless. And also the companies that will work with grants are limited too, and their availability will suddenly disappear, whereas we flew through the system because the guy was like, you're like the only person that phones in a heat wave about a boiler, and I was like, it's because I had to plan ahead. So you have to always think, what would Jess and her boiler do? That boiler that's hopefully going in tomorrow. So is there anything that you can get ahead of? So one, better deal, don't have to wait. As soon as it gets cold, you can put that fire on because you know that it's safe, the chimney's safe, etc., etc. Depending on where you are in the world, it might be the opposite way round. You might be thinking about, I need to get the air conditioning checked. You might be thinking about, I need to get the pool cleaned out. But what is it that your next season's going to bring that you need to think about changing up? I mean, even if you are about to head into a colder climate, you might need to get the pool cleaned to get the cover on and get it put away for winter. My Paw Patrol paddling pool is not quite in need of being professionally cleaned. We're putting a cover over it. But we only, to be fair, we only used it towards the end of summer, but normally we'd have a paddling pool out most of the summer. We only put it out towards the end this year, but now we would be hanging it up, making sure it's all nice and dry before it deflates, making sure we check for any leaks. So I know that our one has got a hole in it, has got a little puncture, so we'll dry it all out. We'll try and repair the patch, we'll test the patch. If it works, then actually that one I'm going to gift on to someone anyway, because we've got a better place for something slightly bigger. I mean, not much. We'll go from like this to maybe like this. It's twice the size. It just started out very small. But because I am going to make sure that check the patch and everything first to see if it's going to be viable. Get the repair, check the patch. If it is, great, I can gift it on to someone else and said, does anyone want this for next summer? I can pack it away and know I'm ready to gift it, but I can look out for our next one. Garden furniture, maybe you invested in some lovely garden furniture this summer. Be a great time to make sure you've either tidied out space in the shed, you know where you're going to put it, or you've got a cover, or maybe you're like, oh, I never got around to treating it, I now need to treat it so that it survives the next season. Alternatively, you might be looking to buy some nice garden furniture because you're coming into all the sales and things. So if you're looking at your garden furniture and thinking, oh, actually, this probably isn't going to make it through the winter, I might as well order what I want now, get it nicely packed up and stick it in the shed in its box still. But also you will find that other people will be getting rid of theirs. So again, if you're like me, like the second hand, like the freebies, it's also a good time on these sort of changes of seasons to think about what it is from your current season that isn't going to last. So other people will be likely to be getting rid of it. So if you've got someone they know they're moving in the winter, they're not going to have a garden anymore, or they're going to redo the garden, or there are people that literally buy new garden furniture every year because they have nowhere to store it through the winter. So they will literally sell it on over the winter so they don't have to store it. Lovely position to be in, not very eco, I guess. But we can make the most of it by thinking ahead in our sort of seasonal switch up to what we will need for next season. Like, what do we miss? Oh, we never got around to getting that barbecue. Well, don't put it off. If you really miss not having a barbecue, if you really missed having a barbecue, there we go. If you really missed having a barbecue this year and you never got around to getting one, while it's still really fresh in your mind, get it sorted, or make sure you put lots of alarms ready for like April to order one when they first come out, and all those kind of things, and thinking ahead. So for me, a big part of my seasonal switch up is I am on the hunt for any solar lights for the garden. We want lots of different lights around the garden that just all come on by themselves and don't need plugging in. I don't want to pay for them. But again, a lot of people they are quite cheap, and a lot of people would just be like, I'm just going to take them down, or maybe they're pruning now and suddenly they haven't got anything to hang it on until next year, and they're like, oh, we'll just pass it on. So I'm already starting to see a few come up, none close enough or cheap enough yet, because I like free. But that is definitely a big part of seasonal switch up for me. My plug just gave me a little electric shock. Ow. We've just got some comments in the chat. I'm just going to pull that one up. For being so varied, I keep all my clothes access photos. If you really minded not having a barbecue. There we go. We got there. I got there eventually. So with I find with clothes, my coats very much have a block season. I pretty much use none except a thin waterproof, like a couple of months in the middle, and then I've got a fluffy coat that I use for like January, February, but the others predominantly then just stay out kind of thing. They're all sort of mid-range ones, and I've got lots of layer things, but I do have a couple of things that I could probably wear them all year round. I could put a few more layers on with them in the winter, and I could get away with them being some. But I found, one, I get really overwhelmed when I open my wardrobe and there's too much stuff. So I do the 333 capsule wardrobe, just because I like having less out. And also then it feels like I go shopping again. So every 3 months, it's like going shopping without having to go to the shops. I just get like my next chunk out. But we are quite lucky here in the fact that the loft is quite easy to get in and out of. Same with the previous house, the loft was easy to get in and out of. So worst case scenario, if I've got something in the loft I need, like I now keep the ball gowns in the loft. Yes, I am the person that has multiple ball gowns. Used to do pageants, so there were ball gowns. Sold on some of them, but I keep those in the loft because yeah, even if I needed one with an hour notice, I've got like fairly easy access to get in and out and do that one as well. Winter storage, I think this is probably the shorter one of the sessions tonight. Separate wardrobe, yes. Need them for singing gigs, yeah. So I used to wear them more often, and I just don't at the moment. Like I have my favourite speaking dress, sort of a day speaking dress and an evening speaking dress, and other than that, the rest of them, I don't know, half of them don't fit at the moment anyway. Just checking through my notes, but I think we've covered everything right. Yeah, I'm always like, oh, look at me finishing like early tonight. making up for all those nights where I slightly run over. Um, I think my big one that I've put it in capital letters to repeat, remember to remind myself to repeat myself at the end, is don't put anything away damaged. Don't put anything away damaged. Make sure that it's either like gone off to be repaired, or you're getting rid of it, or whatever. If you're getting rid of it and you need to replace it, either ideally look for the replacement while those discounts and things are available, or be thinking about putting it in your diary so you remember to get it. I think we pretty much get anything any time of year now, but that not didn't used to be the case. And if you have a sort of prefer going to like your local shops and local high street, or you have a preferred local independent shop, then chances are it'll be slightly harder to get hold of a sun lounger in the middle of February. So thinking about that is always good. So because duvets, yes. So I know people will have different duvets for different times of year. We do the electric blanket thing. Electric blanket. So we have a couple of things like decor wise actually that we switch up. Not major. And obviously being that it's a different house, I've got to see how we feel. But the entrance hall in our old house always felt really nice being bare tile in the summer. It felt really cold being bare tile in the winter. So we have a rug that comes out just for the winter, and we've got another bit of corridor here that I'm going to try and do the same thing. And also then it was catching more of the dirt that comes in on shoes and stuff in the winter, even though you try and brush your feet off. So we've got a couple of an extra rug that goes out in the kitchen in the winter just for an extra bit of cozy. And some people will literally have different cushion covers. We do for December, can't lie, we do. I have a set of red cushion covers in with my Christmas decorations, so when I put those up, all the coloured scatter cushions in the sitting room suddenly become red, and there's always that wrestle of trying to get them in the covers, because not all of them are the same size pillows, but all the cases are the same size. Okay, for your kitchen rug, yes. So we have a little kitchen rug by the back door, and then in the winter I have a bigger one that comes like out and under the chair. We've got this lovely comfy, very very scruffy but incredibly comfy armchair by the back door, and I can sit out and look at the pond and the piles of rubble that I've still got to sort out. Hopefully they'll be gone by the winter too. So yeah, it's not just like the practicalities of warm bedding. Like, have you got a warmer duvet? Maybe you're like, oh, it was so cold last year, I want to invest in a better one this year. And we have a throw on our bed that I only bring out during the winter, because it's a dark navy, and then you've got white bedding, and it's dark navy throw in the winter, and it just feels a bit more like snuggly. But because we've not been keeping our room very clean at the moment, so I've had it on the bed anyway. Brush cover makes a huge difference. Yes, it's and I actually got given some really lovely duvets. So I wouldn't buy feather, and I wouldn't buy leather as a vegan, but I will if it's like secondhand or gifted to me, because I am eco first. And these were literally going to go in the skip otherwise. And the lady's like, I had them all cleaned, but we haven't got any space to take them when we move. So she gave me a single, a double, and a king of these really lovely, and judging on everything else that she's given me, they're probably very expensive originally. So we're going to go through and switch out a couple of those. My daughter's duvet is as light as air, but she's runs hot, so we won't change hers for some time, but quite glad that we've got a thicker single duvet for when it does get a little bit chilly for her. So yeah, are there any like little decor bits and pieces that you have that you'd like to switch around? Maybe it's a time to switch up some photos. Some people have the same picture frame, but they'll have a couple of pictures in there, as in behind each other, so that they bring some more autumnal colours in at this time of year. Or they might have ones through October, they have all their family Halloween pictures that they move to the front of the frame. Are there any bits and pieces like that you either do, and now's the time to sort of trigger yourself to think, right, must get ahead of myself and get those sorted? Or are there any things that you always wish you did get around to do, I use the seasonal switch up to think about what did I miss out on last sort of autumn winter that I really wanted to do. So how we got into the habit of going pumpkin picking. So we now do that every October, because I sort of sat in September thinking, what's that miss? Pumpkin picking. Father Christmas, we usually have booked our trip to Father Christmas by the end of September as well. And it's a really, really good trigger time for all of those kind of things. And the September reset, just like we do the in April, the April spring clean. It's not, although I love cleaning, this is me. It's also about the seasonal switch up in April as well, but going back the other way. So we're still just under time. I'm quite impressed with myself, even though I think I said that about 10 minutes ago, where we've done, and then I still have loads to say. So the replay of this one will go up within the next 12 to 24 hours in the membership. All the other ones should be up there and working now, she says, famous last words. And then our final one is tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be doing our yearly goals check-in, and so we'll be talking about how we can evaluate where we are, making those tough choices about which ones maybe we need to let go of for this year, and how we move them on, or maybe we adjust the parameters, and then also thinking about planning out the final steps that we need to get done. And this would be as we're heading towards the deadline of the end of the year, actually grouping them into the months that they're going to happen in, where normally I'm like plan for the year and then break them up monthly as we go. This is the point where I'm like, okay, this has to get done by the end of October, or I won't get the goal completed by the end of November. And for me, my December doesn't exist because it's Christmas. So I like to have, unless it's like because you've got like ongoing ones like drink X amount of water every day, or I'm going to keep doing that through December, or like my book reading, but I'll be like, I need to only have one book left to read, and I want it to be some cheesy Christmas chick flick-esque book, because I love reading a Christmas book in December. Somebody has a bakery and falls in love with the guy that fixes the lights, or something really, really naff, that kind of thing is always a good December read in my book. Pun intended. Several. Yeah, several. I like one, because otherwise I never finish reading it, so I'm like, I just have to pick one. But I've still got, every time I finish a book, my stupid Kindle recommends the next one, and I'm like, I've already got a big list of ones I want to read anyway. And then I go to the library with my little one, there's always 100 books. I'm like, oh, that looks good, that looks good. Focus on the one. So I will see you fabulous people tomorrow. As always, whether you're watching live or on replay, you can message me at any time with any questions. Hopefully you've made some good notes from today's session. We need an Excellence Book Club. Yes, we could. So we do a bi-monthly book club in the membership. I'm feeling really bad. I've just realised 13th September and I haven't announced this month's book. The list is there's a group in the group section that is literally book club of what book we are reading. We are not fantastic at talking about it, short of a couple of messages of, oh yeah, I really enjoyed this book in the WhatsApp and things, and then that's kind of about it. But so we do it at one every 2 months on the odd number month, so the 1st, 3rd, 5th, which would be the 9th. So yes, we do have a new book, and I'm still finishing the last one because I got distracted over the summer. So I will aim to get that post up by the end of the weekend. But I have them all listed, and there's also a link so you can find them really easily on Amazon as well, in the membership section. So to jump on in there and jump on into whatever book we're reading. It's really bad, I forgot what it is. I'm gonna go look that up now, and also say goodnight to my small. So see you later, my lovely. Bye bye.